Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome to another Saturday. I've been out, done some chores, and now time for a break and a bit of whiskey. If you've been with me the last couple of videos, you know that I'm looking at some rye. So I thought now would be a good time to talk about Millstone rye. This is the Millstone 100 rye from Zidham Distillers in the Netherlands. When we come back, I'll tell you a little bit about what I know, mostly based on the bottle, and then we'll let the rye speak for itself. So come on back, maybe find some rye, and we'll talk this Millstone 100 rye whiskey when we come back.
3, 4.
Well, thanks for staying with me through the break. As I was trying to say in the opener, we're going to keep looking at some rye today. And what I want to look at is this Millstone, Dutch rye. Zidham Distillers produces a number of different whiskey expressions, from single malt to blends to this rye. I haven't had any other releases from them, but I know that they're a fairly prolific distillery. What I like about this, what kind of pulled me in was, well, I like rye. But aside from liking rye, right on the bottle, it has enough information to pique my interest, right? It says right away, look, it's 100 proof, so we're talking 50%. It's 100 months old, so just over 8 years, age stamp. 100% rye grain, 100% small batch. Milled by Dutch windmills. 100% milled by Dutch windmills. That's kind of cool. 100% small pot distillation, 100% new oak maturation, and 100% handmade. So, then they've got distilling and bottling dates on the bottom, a bottle number, that kind of thing. So really, I think that's a nice presentation. Really, really solid. But let's see if the whiskey holds up. So we're talking 100% rye, just over 8 years in new American oak, 50% ABV. This is a rye on the nose. It's fruity, it's spicy, it's full of cinnamon. The fruit is a dark cherry. No, maybe more lighter. Okay. It's got a cinnamon red gum nose to it, like big red bubble gum. Not bubble gum, but those big red gum we used to get. A little dusty, a little bit grassy in the nose. Boy, at this point, spicy, like right away, almost peppery, cinnamon, a little bit of herbal, some fruit of some kind. I'm gonna go with that darker red, maybe a cherry, but it's almost a bit artificial. So maybe more a cherry cola nose. And then now, I've had this open for a while. I will say right now, that's all I get. It's a great nose. The first few months, quite a bit of alcohol in the nose. It's still there, but it doesn't burn me out anymore. Let's see what the palate's like. Cheers. Lots of baking spice now added to the cinnamons. That ripe fruit. What's baking like that? Cinnamon bun, kind of. So there is a little bit of grain in there, but quite a bit of spice, fruit, back to spice, different spice, and clove. A little bit of kind of that darker baking clove type is going on. Gonna have another little sip. Second sip, I'm actually all of those notes, right? Just a significant amount of peppering on this one. Really, I get a biting from the alcohol a little bit. Honestly, if there wasn't an age stamp of over 8 years, I would guess this was a 3-year-old rye. It's very sprightly, almost aggressive, peppery. But with the second sip, I do get a little more of that grassy rye note. It doesn't overwhelm. I wouldn't say it's full of that almost Halsey eucalyptusy that you can get out of rye or can be got out of rye. But I definitely get it more. And I don't remember getting it up front in the bottle. It's a big, bold, spicy rye. If you like that, I think it's great. Lots of cool information on there. In fact, I had forgotten until I read the bottle to you that it was milled in Dutch windmills. I don't think that affects the taste too much, but it's a pretty good story. I do like it. I have to say that grassy kind of eucalyptus note builds a little bit, and usually I'll have a pour of this. But if it's a big night where I might have, 2 pours in a night, I usually don't have a second pour of this. I find it's nice, it's tasty, but it usually needs to be considered, and then I move on in the night to something else if I'm going to have another dram of whiskey. I hope that makes sense. I actually like this bottle. Have no regrets that I picked it up. Like to have it from time to time. Tough for me to put it above 3.5 stars. Now I know on Distiller a few months ago I put it over 4, like 4.25, and I really felt the bottle was better and less grassy at that point. It has shifted again, or my palate has shifted again, and I have to pull it down. You know what? Why don't we compromise a little bit? I'll say 3.75. So at some point I thought this was a monster rye. I've come back to say it's a good rye, and I would recommend trying it out. That's my thoughts. So I'm going to clear my palate, and then we're going to compare it against Lot 40 11-year-old. Reason why I picked Lot 40 is, it's all rye as well. Age stamped, 11 years instead of 8, so it's a little bit older. And it's fairly strong as well. This is 58.4 versus 50, but I thought, you know what? A couple of big ryes. Let's see how they pour. Now, this bottle's been open for a little while, so it might be suffering, but we'll see what we get. This is going to add some toffee or caramel in it, a little more a sugary presentation. Now, not sugary, sweet, grainy type sugary, but you cook your spices into something more. Yeah, in this comparison, more caramel. Some of that old bottle came back. Lively, spicy on the nose. This is good. Much more cooked in cinnamons and baking. See how it tastes on the palate? Actually, the palate follows that nose. I definitely have lots of rye spices, but I would add some vanilla, some caramel. Yeah, I know those are all sweeter. It's not that it's going so much sweeter, but it's a fuller mouth experience and has other layers that I'm pulling across. Fruiting is actually fairly similar, which wouldn't be my memory. This one, I thought I sometimes even get more like a ripe banana. That's not quite true, but something very ripe. I have to say, in this sitting, I really like this nose. It's in the palate that it falls apart right now. So this stays over 4 stars, so there should be a huge difference between. And this is richer, thicker, and a lot more vanilla and caramel than I'm getting out of the Millstone. But the nose on the Millstone is really quite good. Thanks for joining me. Those are just my quick thoughts in this sitting. I'd still have to go with Lot 40, but I like this rye, and if you see it as I did on a shelf for a decent price and you like rye, it should be on your journey. Thanks for joining me down here, and we'll see you next chance we get. Take care.